Let's just get comfortable. Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jay, and guys, today I have got quite a list for you, so settle on in. Guys, today I'm going to talk about the books that shaped me as a young person. Yeah, we're tackling that big old list. So I've got quite a different smorgasbord of books on this list, and I also have authors and series that I'm going to list. So let's just get started, y'all. If y'all have been with me for a hot minute, you'll realize that I'm currently in a horror kick. I've been filming a lot of vlogs with horror novels in it, and honestly guys, that is not a recent thing. I have always loved horror. So this will be of no surprise to you when I tell you that in my formative years, I was a big Goosebumps, Fear Street, R.L. Stine reader. And along with R.L. Stine, we have Christopher Pike, there was Caroline B. Cooney back in the day. There was like a plethora of horror novelists that was sort of in the young adult, middle grade sort of section that I just gravitated towards. And there are so many of those that I couldn't even begin to name all of the books and authors. But primarily it was Goosebumps, Fear Street series by R.L. Stine, and then Christopher Pike's books. I read a lot of his books, and honestly, those authors, they focused on sort of like thriller, mostly supernatural, but a lot of it also was murder mystery. Christopher Pike, this author, he was mostly a murder mystery writer. There was some supernatural. This particular series is supernatural. Honestly, I'm not going to go into it because I don't even have the first one of this book. I'm just trying to collect all of Christopher Pike's books whenever I see them in a used bookstore. If you're not familiar with R.L. Stine, he is just a mogul of, you know, books, horror novels, etc. Goosebumps has been made into movies, series, gosh, so many things. I have more Goosebumps than this. I don't know why I can't find them, but they're somewhere. I had so many as a kid. If you're not familiar with Goosebumps, they're really just like really short, sort of middle grade books of scary stories. And you know what's funny is that none of these books actually scared me. I was never scared by, well, not never, but most of the time I was not scared by anything that R.L. Stine or Christopher Pike wrote. I was just really intrigued by all of them, if I'm being honest. Dun 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 do 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 do. Yeah, you knew this was coming. You knew that I was gonna bring out Harry Potter. And actually, this is my OG copy of Harry. I'm gonna put the elder wand down because, you know, this is dangerous. But this is my OG copy from back in the day when I was like 11, maybe younger, probably younger. It is very frayed. It is very well loved. I still pick this up and read like a couple pages here or there every now and then. Guys, Harry Potter was incredibly important to my formative years. Unlike R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike, he gave me all the spooks. This gave me all the magical feels. But not only that, a sense of belonging. I know a lot of you out there feel very similarly about the Harry Potter series. I'm not gonna get into what it's about because if you don't know what Harry Potter is about, why are we even friends? Why? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'll still love you if you haven't read these books, but truly this was so important to me. This, aside from R.L. Stine and all of those other thriller writers that came before Harry Potter, I read all those before Harry Potter, but this really just skyrocketed my little bookish self into fantasy land. I didn't know that I loved fantasy until I started this series, and then it was nothing but fantasy from there on out. And still to this day, I read 90% fantasy. I don't like reading about real life things because that's lame. I'm just kidding, it's not lame, but y'all know I love Harry Potter. I know y'all love Harry Potter. What else is there to say? The next book that I want to talk about, I don't actually know if a bunch of people know about this book, really. I read it when I was around Harry Potter age, around that same time. And it's The Phantom Tollbooth by Christopher Norton. Guys, The Phantom Tollbooth is fantastic. It's basically about this young boy who is just sort of like, he's kind of a pain in the ass. He just sort of is bored with everything. He's read every book and played every toy that he owns. And then a box is dropped off in his room, and it's a toll booth, and he basically drives this little cardboard toy car through the toll booth into this magical land and has amazing adventures. And one of my favorite things in this book is where like he goes to this marketplace and he goes to a shop front where he like eats letters. He eats letters, and the letters that are more used, like A, B, C, whatever, all the vowels, they're juicier and tastier. And then the letters like Z, X, they taste more like dry and cardboardy and not tasty. Yeah, I don't know. This book is fantastic. It is just absolutely filled with magic and adventures and silliness. And this cute little dog here, I forget what his name is, but if you've not read this, even if you are well above the age of middle grade, this is a fantastic book. And honestly, I haven't read this in a while, but I'm keeping it around to comfort read when I feel like I want to, and also for my future progeny, honestly. This book shaped me in the sense that it just furthered the fantasy like black hole that I was diving into with Harry Potter. And when I found this, I just thought, wow, there is just so much magic out in the world, and I am just ready to devour it one book at a time. Now, the next book that I'm going to share with you is My Teacher Glows in the Dark by Bruce Coville. Guys, Bruce Coville is a prolific middle grade writer. I don't know if he's prolific to you in particular, but he's prolific to me, and he has 1,000,001 books out there. He's published so many. He has so many different series. They're all middle grade. Most of them are fantasy and or sci-fi, and truly just a fantastic writer filled with so much magic in all of his books. And this particular one is about a young boy who his teacher glows in the dark. His teacher's an alien, and he sort of like follows his teacher to outer space in spaceships, and adventures ensue. And guys, I'm not even really a big sci-fi reader, but this book series just absolutely captured my little mind and heart. And because I'm a greedy mofo and love to read about food, eat food, talk about food, there was a portion in this book where you can like basically type into this like wall, this computer that's like mounted into the spaceship walls, and you can basically like ask it for anything and it'll just like bloop it out. It's like a 3D printer, but with everything. If you wanted a piece of furniture, boop, 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 put it in the computer. If you wanted a meal, boop, 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 put in the computer. And in my mind, I was like, oh my God. My 12-year-old mind was like, let me get all the snacks. I just want all the snacks. Put in that computer, I will get all the snacks. I absolutely love this book, needless to say. So good. And moving on from sci-fi, we continue into more fantasy middle grade. What is a book discussion about books that shaped me without the king, Roald Dahl? Guys, if you're not a fan of Roald Dahl, we just can't be friends. Like, there's something to be said about Harry Potter. If you're not into that, okay, fine. You don't like witches, you don't like wizards, you don't like happiness, whatever. I can let that go. But Roald Dahl, he is the purest man ever. I don't actually know if he's the purest man, but his stories are absolutely pure. The Witches, James and the Giant Peach, Matilda, come on. I know you've seen the movie with Danny DeVito and that cute little girl who can move things with her mind. You've watched it, and if you haven't, go do it. Anyway, Roald Dahl was just such a big part of my life for multiple reasons. Like I said, his stories are just so pure. There's always sort of like a lesson to be learned, but it's not in your face. It's not very preachy. And there's also always like the main character is sort of always down on their luck in some way. For example, James and the Giant Peach, parents died. Matilda, parents suck. The Witches, the main character's grandmother is amazing, but she's old and maybe won't be there all the time, and his real parents are out of the picture. So he takes like really humble characters and he puts them through a whirlwind of adventures, and they just grow. They grow as people, and you as a reader grow with those characters. And you know, I continue to read his books over and over again, watch the movie adaptations, because there's just nothing better for your soul than a Roald Dahl story. Okay, now I realize I'm gonna take a break from like the list and let you know that I've not been talking about why these books shape me. These books have shaped me because they're beautiful stories, truly. And you know, when I was a kid, my parents were very overprotective. They didn't let me do a whole lot because we're first generation immigrants. My parents are from the Philippines. They, you know, brought me here for a better life, me and my sister, and they were very overprotective in the sense that, you know, America wasn't familiar to them, so I didn't have a lot of chances to go outside and play with friends. They didn't let me go to a lot of like after school events and parties because they were worried. So I stayed inside a whole lot and read a lot of books, and that was my form of adventure. And I will say that, you know, for all of the overprotectiveness my parents put me through, which I understand why they did it, and I don't have any bad feelings about it. I loved my childhood. It was filled with the most amazing books, and they never said no when it came to books. Literally, they never said no. They said no to me for a lot of other things, but books they always gave me. Okay, so now we're getting into some heavier stuff, okay? This is when I'm like getting older, maybe early teens, that sort of thing. So the first, or rather the next book that I'm gonna talk about is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. Listen, this is my OG copy as well. I have another copy. I don't know why. I think it's my boyfriend's copy. I don't know. But this is so well loved. Like, I reread this last year, and I shit you not, a crumb fell out of one of the pages. I don't know how long that crumb's been there. Let's be honest, because if I reread this last year, I don't know that I reread it for the last 7 years, 10 years, I don't know. If you're not familiar with Eragon, you basically follow the protagonist, his name is Eragon, oh my god. The protagonist, Eragon, and he basically finds a dragon egg and then goes on all sorts of adventures trying to protect the dragon, trying to protect the magic. He is now sort of like the keeper of the dragon. They're best friends, and lots of craziness ensues because a lot of different people, bad people, want his dragon, Saphira. That's basically the premise. Not good at those, but honestly guys, this shaped me in a way that it sort of really paved the way for some more serious fantasy. So we went from like really cutesy middle grade, like the Phantom Tollbooth, Harry Potter, Roald Dahl storybooks, to Eragon. Eragon was just like a world opening experience for me because, you know, everything that I had read up until this point, I think, has sort of been grounded in the real world. For example, you know, there's the Muggle world in Harry Potter, Goosebumps, they all occur in America mostly, that sort of thing. This was the first like real full length, like fully immersive fantasy that I read, and I loved it. I absolutely cherished every second of it. Strangely enough, I haven't actually finished the series, so I should probably do that at some point, but I loved this particular book. The next book is sort of along the same lines of a more serious fantasy, and that is Lirael by Garth Nix. Guys, just disclaimer, this is the second book in a series, and funny enough, I picked this up first. I picked it up randomly at a Scholastic book fair in my school, was so pumped about it, read this, sped through it, and then read it again. It's phenomenal. So if you're not familiar with the Old Kingdom, I was about to say trilogy, but it's really a series, the Old Kingdom series, it's basically about a line of people called Abhorsen. And so it's an inherited title, the Abhorsen. And basically what they do is they put the dead, the walking dead, back to sleep, back to rest. And there's really only one line of abhorsen, and Lirael, the girl here, is one of them. Honestly, guys, this is probably one of the best fantasy series that I've ever read. I am actually in the process of rereading this. I'm going very slowly through it because I have so many books to get through, but this is just the most excellent series, and it shaped me in the way that it was sort of like Eragon. It was another really like fully immersive fantasy that I like sped through, blew through, because the writing was so good, the imagery was so good, and it was a little dark. Like Eragon was a little dark here or there, but this series is definitely a lot darker because there's a lot of death involved. And rereading it recently, like I think I read Sabriel late last year, it's darker than I remember, and I ate that shit up as a kid. I don't know. This is the best. This is the best. You have to check it out. The last series of books that I'm going to talk about is a manga, and you can probably see it right here. It's Sailor Moon, guys. Sailor Moon was so important to my formative years. I would show you books that I own, but I don't have any of them. I used to have so many, and then I left for college and my mother sent them all to my cousins in the Philippines. I can't be too mad because she's sharing the magic, but I kind of wish I had those books. I will eventually find a way to get those books again. I'll probably end up rebuying the series, unfortunately. But anyway, basically, Sailor Moon was everything to me as a kid. I started with the series. I would get up extra early before school, watch Garfield because that was always on first, and I would wait very patiently for Sailor Moon. And I watched that every morning before school while I ate my breakfast, while I got dressed, and I gushed about it to my friends on a daily basis from like late elementary school all the way into high school, and by the time I hit like late middle school and high school, I was reading the manga, and I was actually using the manga to learn how to draw. I used to be really good at art and drawing, but then I let the sort of skill just float away from me, especially when I got into college and was writing all these papers, reading all these books for my history major. In any case, Sailor Moon was just an adventure that I was made to sink into. Pretty girls in pretty outfits, fighting demons and scary things, and the romance between Serena and Tuxedo Mask is just everything, guys. I mean, I cannot tell you how I absolutely agonized over their romance for season after season, after movie, and then the manga. Oh my god, they would never get together, and then they would get together, and it would be glorious for the like 2, episodes or manga that they were together, and then they were not together again because some sort of crazy space shit happened. Guys, that series was just so fantastic to me. I lost myself in all of those episodes and books, and I drew from them. I copied those drawings by, I think the manga author is Naoko Takeuchi. Oh my god, I probably didn't say that right, but I love that series so much. Me and my sister still talk about that series. I have a Sailor Moon shirt. My sister got me that. It's filled with like little keychains that I'm too afraid to actually put on my actual keychain because they're so pretty. I'll show you. I've already lost one, but they're basically like all the pretty soldier weapons, the moon crystal, and they're just like the wands. It's fantastic, guys, and it's probably one of my favorite Christmas presents to this date. Oh no, I didn't lose it. Oh shit. Okay, there you go. I'm not a failure. Oh goodness, guys, this was probably a rambling mess, but those are the books that shaped me. Honestly, they just plunged me into so many different worlds, taught me so many different lessons, and above all, it taught me that I was not alone. As a kid who was relatively reserved and bookish, the most important thing is that I wasn't alone when I read these books. I immersed myself in those worlds, the art, just everything. And I never felt like I needed more from life when I was reading them. All right, guys, I have rambled long enough about all these books. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel, and hit that notification bell, subscribe, so you always know when I've got good things coming to you. Bye, y'all.